Madison Square Garden, we now welcome in our fight guys, Brian Campbell and the dulcet tones of Luke Thomas, who narrated the sizzle piece for us. This main event is intriguing in that Adesanya is so dominant right now, but Luke, as you pointed out, he's lost twice to Pereira in kickboxing bouts. Adesanya is the favorite at minus 220. BC, are you riding with the favorite, or do you think Pereira has the tools to get the upset at plus 180?
Well, I certainly think he has the tools. These are the closest odds of any opponent during Adesanya's middleweight title reign, which has been impressive through 5 title defenses. But do I think he's ultimately that kryptonite we talked about? I don't. While these two had a very close rivalry in kickboxing, and certainly the first victory by decision by Pereira is still disputed to this day, as was sort of the sequences leading to the knockout loss in the rematch. These are mixed martial artists now, not kickboxers. And while we give Pereira plenty of credit for his transition to the UFC, 3-0 in 1 calendar year, 6-1 in MMA overall, there are more questions than answers when it comes to his 5-round stamina ability, his ability to adapt his well-rounded game, whether he's got any ability on the ground. This is a big step-up moment for Pereira. You love the backstory, you love the threat and the potential for knockout, but these are the types of opponents, even with the elevated danger, that a technician and artist like Adesanya can still paint some beautiful work and work around and get the job done.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the champion here as well, but this is a very closely contested contest. I mean, here's what you have to realize, and BC kind of alluded to it. First of all, if you watch the first fight that they had in kickboxing, I think many observers would tell you that Izzy won. In fact, I think he won. Then you go to the rematch, Adesanya was really kind of whooping up on him, getting a standing 8 count for Pereira in the second round. So I thought he won the first one and won the first 2 rounds of the second one. Now, of course, Pereira closed the show in the third. And what does that kind of tell you? It tells you, and yes, that was years ago and in kickboxing, but even in MMA, I feel like this would still stand. Namely, I think that a guy like Adesanya is way more skilled and has way more ability, but I would grant that a guy like Pereira is probably a little bit more dangerous in the immediate sense. Nevertheless, a guy like Adesanya is so careful, so precise, so well-rounded. I think he's going to get it done, but this is going to be a very difficult challenge for the champion.
BC, you were taking Adesanya in this one too, right?
I am. Look, I love the knockout threat. I love the backstory. There's a lot of people complaining about the so-called boring turn of the style of Adesanya, who's so far ahead of the game technically that if you don't advance forward and risk it all, he's more than fine outpointing you from the outside and minimizing the danger. But there is a beast inside of Adesanya. It came out in his interim title victory over Kelvin Gastelum in one of the greatest fights in UFC history. Make no mistake, Alex Pereira is the type of opponent who's going to bring that out of Adesanya. If you long for the days when he was a finisher and a brutal counter-strike artist, this is the matchup because Alex Pereira knows only one speed, full speed ahead. He's dangerous. He can disguise his strikes, and especially early on, he's a threat. But nobody picks pot shots, swivels, adjusts, and can find openings like Adesanya. I'm taking the champ here, but you better recognize that danger, and I know he will too. He's wired in and ready and mentally tough and here for this opportunity. But when the lights get bigger, you do get a better Adesanya. That is a proven fact.
Yeah, we'll see how Pereira handles the spotlight in his first title fight here. The co-main event has women's strawweight champion Carla Esparza against former champion Zhang Weili. Zhang is the favorite to regain her title at minus 340 with the champion as the dog, plus 270. Luke, how do you feel about that?
It's probably pretty fair, to be quite honest with you. You are not going to find a whole lot of people inside the MMA industry who are confidently picking Carla Esparza. And that's really, it's unfortunate in the sense that, look, she's a 2-time UFC champion. She had a very difficult strength of schedule to get through just to get to this position. So she's a talented, frankly accomplished fighter at this point. The problem is the matchup. The matchup is just really bad for her. Zhang Weili, from what we can tell, appears to be certainly much better on the feet, a dynamic athlete, certainly reborn since getting with Tiger Muay Thai and then Henry Cejudo in her coaching staff. And honestly, while I don't think she's as good as a pure wrestler as Carla Esparza, I do think that Esparza has some advantages in that sense. I think her defensive wrestling is going to be on point. I think the pace that she brings is going to be on point. This is an uphill climb for Carla Esparza. I think Zhang Weili is going to be your new champion, and I don't think it's going to be necessarily all that close.
Yeah, Luke kind of nailed the temperature out here. That like what Carla Esparza is facing from the fans, from the media, from the odds makers. It's borderline not fair. She's getting booed at every turn from the fans who still have the receipts from how boring her title victory was against Rose Namajunas in their rematch. But it's like, hey, put a little bit, or by a little bit, I mean a lot of respect on this woman's name. At 35, she's the inaugural champion in, without question, the greatest and most decorated division of the 4 UFC women's ones at 115 pounds. She's again the current champion. She's riding a 6-fight win streak. She really, has done nothing wrong publicly. Yet everyone's booing her. Everyone's picking against her. And if you want to dig a little deeper and say, well, why? Well, look, of this 6-fight win streak, which has been remarkable for her to turn her career around, 4 of those fights have gone to disputed decision, 3 of them split decisions. So it's been survive and advance for her, but I don't think Carla Esparza has won the hearts of the fans with this current run. And I don't think she's left no doubt that even though she's the champion, she's truly the best strawweight in the world right now. I think a lot of people would still say Rose Namajunas or Zhang Weili. I like Weili. I like her big like everybody else. And the reason is because since losing her title via head kick knockout to Rose Namajunas, Zhang Weili's brought in some new minds. Henry Cejudo, Eric Albarracin, focused a bit more on wrestling, turned her body around. She's a full-on tank coming at you. Yeah, these odds makers might be right, Jeremy. I'm sorry to say it. No disrespect to the champion, but this is Zhang Weili's night.
All right, the third fight we want to discuss on the main card is the lightweight one between former interim champion Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Poirier fighting for the first time in almost a year since he lost to Charles Oliveira. He's the favorite here at minus 230 BC. How do you like him there?
I like action, fireworks, and an early stoppage. And I think everything Dustin Poirier has been saying this week of, you want the violence, you're going to get it. I'm going to be going after him. I do question if that's the best strategy, though, for Poirier. Only 33 years old, you say only, but he's been in there with the best, fight in and fight out, going deep into fights, into many wars. And what does this version of 36-year-old Michael Chandler do better than about everybody else? It's come in there in the first round, guns blazing, and put you in that fight or flight circumstance. Poirier seems to be welcoming that. Is that a good thing when you consider we have seen Poirier starched early before, early in his career against Conor McGregor, again against Michael Johnson? I like Michael Chandler if this fight plays out the way we think it is, which is full speed ahead violence to get a stoppage victory here. Either veteran can win, and if they look great in doing so, they may be the next title challenger. But I feel this presence of Michael Chandler coming on, even though the odds makers disagree. So watch closely when these two throw punches on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm going to take a slightly different view on this one. I think it's going to be the other way around. I like Dustin Poirier's chances here. Now, BC's right. This is an all-action affair. 2 gunslingers, 2 guys who don't mind trading, 2 guys who will get in each other's faces and, frankly, take some risks. And so when you do that, sometimes it's just a coin flip. Let's be honest about it. But here's the difference. I think, and it's hard to say exactly, but a guy like Dustin Poirier should be sturdier, should be able to take more damage than a guy like Michael Chandler. Chandler by no means has a bad chin, but he doesn't have a proven chin in the way that a guy like Dustin Poirier does. Also, it should be noted, while Chandler's a little bit better of a wrestler, that is true. He's going to have a hard time wrestling, I think, for the entirety of it. And Dustin Poirier's takedown defense can be decent at times, but I think more than that, he's going to find himself wanting to trade, wanting to pressure. And a guy like Dustin Poirier has really good striking, really good boxing, heavy-handed for the weight class. I think that's going to catch up to Michael Chandler in the end.
Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell in New York City, going to MSG and discussing UFC 281, which comes up Saturday night in New York. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And of course, for more from LTNBC, be sure you're listening to Morning Combat, the latest episode, a full 81-minute breakdown of the 3 fights we just discussed. Download and follow Morning Combat wherever you get your podcasts, or if you're lazy like me, just scan the QR code.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.